Radio.
Yeah, I really like radio in the sense that I love the whole idea of music, but I also love sharing music with other people.
Yeah.
I more enjoy listening music with other people than listening by myself. That's why when I started to listen to the John Creedon show, it really inspired me because I really love John Creedon and the way he talks and the way he presents the show.
Yeah. So what is it? What is it in particular? Is John is in Cork? Are you in Cork?
No, I'm actually in Kildare. But
How are you?
I'm listening through the my stereo over there.
Yeah.
And I remember what I would do is I'd be asking my mum and dad all the time, I don't know what to listen to at night because all my CDs I would have listened to over and over again. So they once mentioned John Creedon to me, and I decided I'd give him a listen. And I've been listening to him for 3 years, I think, straight now.
And what age are you now?
I'm 10.
Oh my goodness, you're a lifelong fan. John is a great fella.
Have you ever met him, actually?
I have, and I've spoken to him. Yeah, he's a lovely man.
Yeah, I just really enjoy the likes of John Creedon in the afternoon.
And the music that he plays is phenomenal, isn't it?
Yeah, I was actually reading there. It's quite like yours, some of the stuff like Pink Floyd.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's brilliant the way many DJs like John Creedon and you that I was reading about, they have a wide variety of music. Where the likes of other radio stations, they stick at maybe, like, I know Nova's based on rock, but I mean, some radio stations on their shows, they have a variety, and then some don't. I prefer the ones with different songs on it.
Yeah.
Especially with John Creedon, it's more explore for me.
Oh, listen, if you want to learn about music, listening to John is absolutely the way to go, because John, and there's another boy on RT Lyric called John Kelly, and he plays
I
really
listen to him.
well. You do? Good.
Yeah. He is like all like world music and Arabic music.
Yeah, good stuff. You know your things. Excellent.
I remember my mom and dad said when John Creedon wasn't on the weekend, they'd say to me, "Here, listen to John Kelly," and I'd go, "John Kelly, if it's RT Lyric, it's probably going to be classical music." Now, I've never been the biggest fan of classical music, and then when I hear all this world music, I thought, "Wow, this is amazing."
Good boy. She's good for you. That's amazing. And the fact as well, you know, that you're hearing maybe some trad and some great Irish music, and then some great rock, or you might with John Creedon, you might get Leonard Cohen and the like of that. You know, really brilliant stuff. Yeah.
I remember, like, if there was a new album out, when Paul Weller's album came out, On Sunset, do you know of it?
Yes, I do. Yes.
I have it on record there. And the only reason why I bought that record was because of John Creedon. Because there was one week when John Creedon, he had this, he was with the RTE album of the week, he had that on. And I went, wow, what a song. What a song by Paul Weller. Because I never knew that was his style. I never heard of him before Paul Weller. And I was listening, and he played the likes of Village and On Sunset from the album, and immediately I went to myself, I need to buy this record, and off I popped to Golden Discs up in Newbridge.
And how do you get the money to buy all the records?
Well, I save up. Like I used to. One guy asked me, and I was laughing at it. He asked me, "Why do you spend so much money on records when you could buy sweets?" And I said to him, a record could last you a lifetime, where sweets could last you 5 minutes.
Oh,
and records are always worth it.
Yeah.
Now, when I say that, I've seen records for like 100 euro. That's not exactly worth it. But still, to spend 20 quid on an album you could listen to and then pass down to your children, that's brilliant, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And the first book I ever read with had records in it I was so happy that they actually included records in it. It was one on the 1920s, and I was surprised that no of the books I ever read, I don't think, had records in it.
Yeah. Yeah. So what kind of books do you like?
Oh, I love any book that has writing in it.
Mhm.
I read all about the 1920s. There's a book that I finished twice, which for me was the best book I've ever read, and for a lot of other children the same. It's called Wonder by R.J. Policio, and that was all about a boy who had a deformed face and
Mhm.
was teased in school. And it was based on a true story. And the boy's name was August Pullman, and there's an actual person called August Pullman. And I think he's like 30 now, and he has a deformed face.
Mm. Wow, that's deep. That's really good going. The fact that you like that, and then come back to the music. What is your go-to album then? When you just kind of, I want to put on something. What would you put on?
Go to album. Oh my God, that's the trickiest question anybody could ask me. It depends if I want to relax. Just looking over there on my CD collection.
Yeah, go on.
I'd probably say relax an album called Chill with Satie.
Oh,
And have you ever heard of the composer Satie, Eric Satie?
no.
Well, it's not a very popular conductor, but there was an album there called Chill with Satie. And one night my mum and dad told me, listen, it might help you relax. Because I was very hyper that night, reading my book and everything. And I listened to it, and I loved the piano pieces in it.
Gorgeous.
Because it also had guitar.
Yeah.
And I love that. Then.
And do you ever listen to Einaudi, or have you heard of Einaudi?
Einaudi? No,
Yeah.
I never think I've ever heard of that.
Yeah. That if you like piano and things like that, it's beautiful. Or do you know the movie Soul?
Oh my God, I love that movie. It's brilliant.
But what about the music though? Is amazing in it, isn't it?
Oh yeah, the whole idea though about incorporating jazz into a children's movie, it's basically impossible to do that because not many children would like music.
No, well, it certainly wouldn't like jazz. So
no.
An amazing thing that they did. So tell me about the radio. Do you think you'd like to be on the radio?
I would love to. That's definitely one of my big goals. Not the biggest, but a very big goal.
What's the biggest goal?
I really actually want to meet John Creedon.
Okay.
I really do, because I watch Creedon's Atlas of Ireland and things, and I just think he's really cool.
Yeah.
And I always picture myself in his studio. And I think it's really, I think he's really cool in the sense that he doesn't talk about anything that could offend someone, and he's always having a laugh during the show.
Yeah.
And also, back to Radio Nova, because I'm talking too much about RT Radio 1.
That's all right.
The first time I ever listened to Radio Nova, which I will remember for probably the rest of my life. And it's one of the silliest ways. I was in my sister's bedroom. She had a new stereo. She's into music too a bit. She likes more pop stuff though. And we accidentally were tuning it in. And we came across Radio Nova. And my dad went, brilliant, Radio Nova. And he turned it on. And the music that was playing, I loved it.
Great.
And the way they say it's rock, it's not just rock. It's different types of rock. It's metal, America style rock. I think that's brilliant, the Radio Nova. They say they're a rock company, yet they still have a large variety of music, and they're still a rock company. They still play rock.
Yeah. And we play, some of it can be soft rock as well.
Yeah.
We don't, and we play maybe, some good 80s and things like that, stuff from the 1980s.
Yeah.
Because Nova, it's aimed at people slightly older than you. You know what I mean? It's aimed at like your mom and dad kind of age, you know? Yeah.
Adolescents to 50s.
I think too, you can be on the radio.
Sorry?
I'm just saying, I think when you want to, I think you can definitely be on the radio. I think you could definitely do it if you wanted to. You've a brilliant way about you. You've a lovely way of chatting. I like your style.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And to do it, Nova, there was one band in particular that really inspired my love of music.
Yeah.
And I mean, really did. AC/DC.
Go away.
The kids used to know me in school for loving AC/DC.
Yeah.
And the one tape that I had of AC/DC, and I thought it was better than some of the CDs I had in better quality, was Stiff Upper Lip, which
Yeah.
I used to listen to over and over again. And I used to get so annoyed when the side would end because I'd have to stop listening and go over and switch the sides.
So you have it on vinyl?
I have it on tape.
Oh, on tape. Okay.
The first time I started collecting vinyl was at my communion. As you know, when you get your communion, you get a good bit of bob. And I decided I'd go get a record player because I knew my dad had old records, and I decided I might be a collector. So I went off and we were traveling for a whole day trying to find record players because this was the time before vinyl was popular. Or probably at its highest peak because they were all out of stock. One or the other. But I got it, and we found some old records upstairs, like some Dead Kennedys, and then we found some of my granddad's records, which were surprisingly good too, like the Monkees. And then I started my collection, and I've got a good 30 to 40 records now over in the corner of my room. And the first album I ever bought, which in my opinion is one of the greatest but weirdest, very unique album, Pink Floyd, The Wall.
Oh,
I know.
That's not weird.
I mean, like,
I know what you mean, actually. When you get down to the very last four, it gets a bit...
Yeah, it gets a bit eerie,
Yeah, it does get eerie,
It doesn't spoil the album, though. It's a bit creepy.
But you know it's a story, right? The whole thing is a big story. You know that, don't you?
The artwork in it is fabulous. I actually love it. When I first got it, I lay down on my bed like a kid with his comic, and I opened it up and I was staring at it for a good 10 minutes, just admiring all the artwork.
That's magic.
It's one of the most iconic, in my opinion, album covers of all time. There's a couple of those album covers that are implanted in your brain, like AC/DC Back in Black, that album there, and some other really good albums like Born in the USA by Bruce Springsteen.
Do you like Springsteen?
Yeah, just thinking of Springsteen. There's something I need to confess. I used to call a lot of the old bands that I used to like different names accidentally. Bob Dylan was Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
Led Zeppelin was Led Zeppelin. And then I had that. I said accidentally. I said instead of Buffalo Springfield, Buffalo Springsteen.
That's all right. Did you ever call AC?
I got a lot of them mixed up. And I remember the day I asked my mom, could I buy a Led Zeppelin album? Well,
how do you know about Led Zeppelin? How do you know about them?
Well, what I do is I go on Spotify, I'd see a song, I'd learn everything about the band, learn what other bands were like it, then learn everything about that band. I know I have Mothership in the back there, which is a double album, and that's the only Led Zeppelin album I have, yet it's the only one I'm ever going to need, because it's not a best of, but in my opinion it is, because it's got some amazing tracks on it.
Yeah, it is. It is amazing, but if you really want to get into the bones of something like Led Zeppelin, you really need to check out the debut album. It's just called Led Zeppelin.
Oh yeah, I saw the iconic picture of a Zeppelin, unforgettable since the name. And
Led Zeppelin 4. It's not called 4, but everyone calls it 4. It was called the Untitled album. That's the one with Stairway on it. Like there's a song on there called Going to California. Oh my goodness, when you hear those albums as they were meant to be, it's really special.
Big time. Now, when I was saying that Led Zeppelin was the best of, I don't mean now that was the best album, but definitely I remember I once was watching on this show called Pawn Stars.
Yeah.
That this guy had a Led Zeppelin album that was signed.
Yeah.
And it was a first edition, and it was bought in like the 1970s when it was just came out. And I went, how cool would it be to actually have that?
Amazing.